After a month-long trial, 31-year-old crypto trader Sam Bankman-Fried was found guilty of all 7 criminal counts against him. He was convicted of wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud against customers of FTX, Fried's now bankrupt crypto exchange, and against the lenders of Alameda Research, FTX's sister company. He was also convicted of conspiracy to commit securities fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. He had pleaded not guilty to the charges, but Damian Williams, a U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, said in a briefing that Sam Bankman-Fried perpetrated one of the biggest financial frauds in American history. Let's get more on this now with Susanna Streeter. She's head of money and markets at Hargreaves Lansdown. Thank you very much for joining us today. Susanna, we remember what sort of impact all this had on the crypto industry at the time, on the price of cryptocurrencies as well. But we've seen a rally in the price of Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies. What's your outlook for the near future in terms of these prices?
Yes, certainly. So we have seen a rally over the past year, Bitcoin up by over 100%, although since this conviction has dipped back from some of the highs it reached earlier this month. Certainly the focus right now is still on what the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States is going to do when it comes to trading exchanges, but also the potential for spot Bitcoin futures funds to be authorized going forward. There's a lot of speculation about that, which is partly what has fueled this big rise that we've seen in Bitcoin of late. Certainly, there is some expectation that the SEC will give that approval, but generally, the SEC has been moving to take much tougher enforcement action against exchanges, which it believes should actually be regulated more in terms of other more traditional financial firms, which is why you've seen a lawsuit pursued against a number of exchanges in the United States because they haven't officially registered as a broker, particularly Coinbase. So that I think is still going to have some kind of a downward pressure potentially on the market, but also with the speculation that perhaps the SEC could approve these spot exchange spot funds in terms of future trading. That may continue to provide some upwards pressure.
And that's interesting you talk about regulations, because the last time we saw something regulated being introduced on the markets when it came to crypto was 2017, when actually futures were launched on the CBOE in the US and on the CME, regulated futures, obviously. When will regulations also extend to the actual currencies and the exchanges? Do you think regulations will be introduced at some point to the crypto market?
Well, yes, you are seeing those moves being generally made. I think there's going to be some kind of concerted effort more globally to try and ensure that there's more of a level playing field. There is, of course, given the FTX implosion, a real concern that far too many investors have been drawn in and have lost money they simply couldn't afford to lose, particularly during a cost of living crisis raging in many countries. Regulators are increasingly concerned that these waves of speculation encourage investors to put money into these very, very volatile cryptocurrencies. The problem is with regulating it is that it offers more legitimacy to the market, and there are many hundreds and hundreds of coins and tokens out there, some arguably more legitimate than others and arguably potentially have more of a future. So that is why I think regulators are still treading very, very carefully, very fearful not to add more legitimacy to what is extremely a volatile market still. On the other hand, there are more traditional financial players looking at potentially becoming more involved, and that's why there's been this big focus on these spot Bitcoin ETF launches in the US, which could potentially be approved, and which has fueled, I think, this rally we've seen recently in cryptocurrencies.